Hey guys, this is Chris with Adventure South. I'm about to do the brake fix, the Camel brake fix on a 2024 Tenere 700. And before I did, I just wanted to mention that at the time of this video, which is August 24th, 2025, I am not sponsored. I am not given any products. I am not paid for anything. This is just my bike and my products that I've paid for myself that I'm going to put on there to make improvements as much as possible, and I'll let you know what products I like and what products I don't like with no influence from anyone else. So I hope you find this video useful, and please comment and subscribe if you like it. Thanks. Today I've got a 2024 Tenere 700. For those of you who have a T7, you've probably noticed an issue with the brakes. They're a little squishy. I think in general the brakes they're good brakes. They're Brembo brakes on the T7, but the amount of distance that you have to travel to engage the brakes is a little bit of the challenge, and part of that is the way the leverage is set up back here. So a couple of companies have created solutions to this. Camel is one of those companies. So I'm going to kind of give you guys just an instructional video of how I changed it today, and I'll also include a link in the bottom from Camel with the instructional video, which was really very helpful. So here's some of the parts that come with the Camel brake fix. The actual lever itself, you know, they have a different version if you have lowered pegs. You can look into that also. This is just the standard. They have three different tips, I believe. I went for the foldable tip, which is similar to what I had from factory. They have a small street version and a larger solid version for off-road. A few other parts. They bring some Loctite, some grease. They provide some instructions, but the QR code actually gets to the video that I'll provide a link for as well in this video, and that's what was very helpful in kind of getting this set up. As far as tools, you're going to need an 8mm, 10mm, and a 12mm. I've got the respective same sockets so that I can use an impact wrench and kind of move a little quicker through here. Of course, just the ratchet to use that. My torque wrench to get things back to where I need it when I'm done. I think they need a 4mm and a 5mm Allen. And then needle nose, some side snips, a little pin puller type thing, and I had some Loctite already I'm going to use. So just in general, that's what you're going to need to get this done. It should be pretty simple. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is get this plate off. But before, what the instructions say is before you actually do that, this is the first bolt, first and last bolt, you need to loosen up. So we're going to go ahead and pop that loose. Give me just a second if I can do it without busting my knuckles up. We go ahead and loosen that up because they say if you don't do it now, you're going to have trouble doing it later. So just get that loose for now. And then behind this, we've got a cotter pin over here. On the instructions, he's on the front so you can see what's going on. It's on the back. It looks like it's going to be a little bit of an interesting thing to get it out. So I'm not going to film me fighting with this thing, but I'm going to have to get in there with the needle nose pliers, open up a cotter pin. I think you guys have probably done that before. Open the cotter pin up, get it back. If the cotter pin is spinning, you can lock the brake down and kind of keep it in place a little bit more. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll let you know, or I'll film when I'm done. So as expected, that cotter pin was a little bit of a booger to get out of there, but once you do get it out, it's downhill from there in theory. I've already taken the washer out of the bag. Go and take the pin out. Make sure you don't lose all those pieces. So we're good to go there. Now we just need to go ahead and take all these other bolts off. Okay, I think there's some Loctite on a lot of these, as they mentioned in the instructions, so I went through and broke them open just with a regular old ratchet wrench. Now I'm going to use an impact so I can move a little faster. So let me move a little faster. There just a second. So hopefully I won't have to take that thing off. Let me see. Okay, so once you get those loose, they're like this. There is a little clip back here, and you need to basically get it here and loosen this up. I've done this before, so it should be pretty easy though. There we go. Once that's loosened up, you can get in there as needed and finish up everything else. Okay, so next we need to take off the brake light indicator switch. I've already loosened this up, but they say to be very careful because there's some Loctite on that. Clean that thing out really, really well so you don't strip it. The first time I kind of was a little worried I might have. Luckily I did not. But you can go ahead and just get this out real quick. When you get that out, there's a little, you can see the little spring. It's right there, so I'm just going to move that to get that out. So now we're disconnected. So now we have the unit that we can go work on the table with. Okay, first thing to do is break this loose. It's a 12, I think it's a 12 mil. They said it's got a lot of Loctite on it. I already broke it loose. I took a ratchet and a rubber hammer to get it going, and it's still, you know, I don't want to scuff up my knuckles here, but and I'm doing it in a way, you could put this in a vise, but I'm kind of using this on the table and using the leverage of the table itself. But that thing's still pretty solid. There we go. That's a handful. So take that off, and I think they said we won't be reusing any of that. I'm gonna leave that bolt in there for now, but so I don't think we use any more of that. Now we start working with the new stuff. Got everything disassembled. The next thing is this is the actual brake lever. They used to come, I believe, pre-greased, and that was a problem, and they talk about that on the video. But now they come just zip tied, and they send you the grease to do yourself. So you just kind of come in and cut off the zip tie, and then it's my understanding, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a groove inside there, if you can see it, and you just want to get as much grease inside there as you can to then put it back, clean everything out. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut the tip off this grease tube, so we're good to go there. Got a little rag ready for me. Actually, I could probably put this down. Throw this on top of it. There we go. Let's be smart about it. And as I mentioned, you kind of open that up till you see that groove, and then try to load that thing up. So if I look in there, it looks pretty good. And then we don't want a bunch of extra in there because I believe we're going to put some Loctite in. So I'm going to kind of get that out and then run something down through there. So I'm going to go put another layer through there, just make sure I get it really, really good, and then I'll pick you guys up in just a second. So I've got this this thing's greased up pretty well. I'm gonna kind of, you don't have to hold your finger on it, but flip this over. We're gonna go ahead and put the spring on now. So I'm looking at the back side. The Camel part is on the front side. I'm looking at the back side. I've got the spring like this with the little point down, so I'm gonna put this over and have this kind of set right here, and then you just pull this back and hook it over this. Let's see how easy this is. They made it look a lot easier. They made it look a lot easier on the install video. Give me just a second. Ow. Okay, so I just used a pair of pliers to help me, but so there it is. You've got this in the groove. This goes over this groove. We should be good to go there. Next, you take your bolt and then your big washer, smooth sides facing out, and then your other little washer, smooth side facing out, and that goes in like that, and there's your setup. So we're going to make sure this is all clean, and then we're going to put some red Loctite on this and put it back together. Okay, so once we have it all together, you can confirm, you know, if you look at the diagram, they give you the bolt on the outside, the big washer, little washers inside there, there's the bushing. Put some red Loctite on there so we match up, we're good to go. And when you put this on, you want to get this little spring inside this little hole. So let's get that going. get this started. I think it just went. I'll make sure we're not cross-threaded, and then just go ahead and put that in. Okay, another thing is there are 3 tips, as I mentioned before, on these things. There's 2 fixed ones, one smaller for street, one's I think 55 millimeters for dirt. And then they came out with this flexible tip, which is similar to what we have from the factory. You could do this once it's on the bike, or you could do it now. I mean, to me, I'd go ahead and just install it now. But so here we go, just gonna take it and put it through the bolts. While you hold it, put a little blue Loctite on there. Close that down. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. These are locking nuts, so I'm going to go ahead and put these on. And I think that is a 10 millimeter. Tighten those down, kind of get them both snug before I get too crazy. Snug. And those are you know, pretty small. I don't know what the torque, they didn't tell me what the torque is on it, so I'm just gonna give it my best guess without going too crazy. They're small and they've got some Loctite on them anyway, so tighten that one down. Tighten that one down. Come back. Tighten that, come back, tighten that. So there's the setup. Looks good. Once you put it on there, we'll level things up and put them where they need to be. But anyway, looks good, feels good. Hope it works good. Okay, hopefully you can see this. The next thing we've got to do is take this clevis and nut off so it's loose. We loosened it before, if you remember. So I'm going to take that off, just spin it. Should just come off pretty easy. Keep the nut because we're going to have to use it again. So then take the new one. This one's offset. You can see the difference, and this is really the magic, by the way, is this offsets this and gives more leverage on the actual brake. So out of everything else on here, you know, the difference in these 2 pieces is probably the most important part. But anyway, take that. They say this is kind of hard to get going, so we'll see if it is. So start it there, get it going. Not too bad. Okay, so I had left the nut before kind of where it was, just barely loosened. So I'm at that same spot, and I'm going to leave it right there. I need to see if that points forward or backwards. I'm not sure. Assembly ready to go. First thing we're going to do is put this brake activation switch back on. So if you remember, we took it off with the spring first, and this is going to have to mount right here. So go ahead and see if you can get the spring back through there and get this seated right back in here. You can see that this kind of flushes down on the bottom, so kind of hold that in place if you can, like that. And every one of these screws are going to get a little bit of blue Loctite on them, so you got to get this thing started back in. So I'm going to get it started by hand to make sure nothing's cross-threaded or anything like that. So everything's seated in. I've hand tightened it. And then I'm just going to bring in my ratchet. And I'm not torquing, I'm not specifically torquing this. It's got some blue Loctite on it. I'm just going to get it pretty. I'm trying not to scuff anything up. There we go, so that's probably pretty good. So then we're going to go ahead and tuck this back into this part, put all these back. So I'm going to go ahead and put some Loctite on the insides of these guys so they're okay. Get that ready, and then put this back in there so I can get them in and then start putting on my new screws. Okay, so I've put some blue Loctite on everything. Now I'm going to kind of get these screws out of the way so I can get this back in here. And I'm gonna need to tighten that back down in just a little bit. I'll do that in a second. So let me start these threaded first. And this biggest bolt with the dimple in the top goes up top. So let me get that in there to kind of hold things in place while I'm gonna leave it a little loose so I can move this stuff. And these I may need a little help. Okay, so those are started. I'll put them on with the big wrench in a second. These bigger bolts. Right there. Right there. Remember we undid this back here, so you want to go ahead and put that back in place so that cable's strapped down. And then I'm just going to come through here, see which one this is, and ratchet all these down real quick. So since everything's on, and I'll torque these to the correct specification. Just a second. There's those, and I am going to go ahead and put these in. So just put this over the top of that and get these lined up. I already have some blue Loctite on them, so make sure we get them started right. Blue Loctite. Good to go there. So let me tighten those up as well. Alright, so I'm going to come back and just get my torque wrench and make sure I've got the right torque specification on every one of these. Hey guys, so as far as the correct torques on these things, these are 23. These three guys right here are 23 Newton meters. These are 52 Newton meters on these because they carry a lot of weight from your body and stuff like that. And these are 32. I changed these out from factory when I put this bar on, but I'm still going to put it at 32. So 23 Newton meters, 52 Newton meters, 32 Newton meters. Okay, so I've tightened everything down to the torque specifications I mentioned a minute ago. Last thing is just kind of to get this, get everything back over here with your new, they actually give you a new cotter pin and clevis, so that's good, because I told you I can't stand using old cotter pins again after you destroy them. So just move this around until it lines up. You can go from the front or the back. If you go from the back, it's going to be easier to do the cotter pin. Just for the sake of showing you this, I'm going to go ahead and put it here. And I left it kind of where it was. And so before you go too far and even put this on here, you know, I'm going to tighten this up as the last thing I do based on the height that I want for this. So, you know, if I start, you know, tightening this up this way, that moves this pedal down. If I'm taking it down this way, it's bringing the pedal up. You really, for me personally, you know, you kind of want it flat across if possible. And that's pretty much flat across from what I'm looking at. Hopefully I'm centering that video there. But so I'm kind of happy with where that is, and I can make any last changes here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the cotter pin put back in. Not sure if I'm going to put on the inside or the outside. I'll figure that out. And then once I do, I'll go take it on a little test ride and make sure I like the positioning of the brake, things like that. Tighten this down is the last thing I'll do, just to the position that I need. And they say to drain the brakes. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but we'll talk about that in a second. I just ran the cotter pin in from the back so that, or excuse me, I guess that's a clevis in from the back, so it'll be easier to get the cotter pin. A lot of different ways to do this. You can hold this pedal down to lock it in, try it. I like using extra pairs of needle nose pliers if you have them. So start one way, grab onto it, start it the other way, and then just try to wind these things out of your way as much as possible. And I don't really expect that's going to get caught up on a boot or anything like that. It's well behind this, you know, kind of your boot's going to be right here, so you're well behind any of that. Give it one last little squeeze here. So that's on, that's on. I noticed also down here, they never say anything about this on the other video, but there's a little free play. I'm not sure if you can see that between the spring. I like the positioning. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down with my 12. I think that's a 12. This is already locked down below, so let me just tighten this thing up to lock it in place. And in theory, that's it, guys. You know, all these are torqued. All these down here are torqued. This is back on, spring's back on, cotter pin's back in. This is tightened down. Everything's good to go. There's the difference. There's just that much play, you know, on or off. So I'm gonna take it on a test drive and see how it is. Hey guys, one thing I just realized is, you know, I mentioned in the video before about some play in this right here. What that is that's the spring that sets the tension on the brake light sensor. So you really need to have it kind of tight. I was wondering if there's an adjustment in there. I didn't see in my manual or anywhere, but this screw is actually a number 6. And what you do is you really just move this to where it just barely touches, and then you tighten this down. And like, it's kind of hard for me to do it with one hand, but once you, and it's a little backwards than the way you'd think it would be, but that's the opposite of the way you would normally, well, I don't know if it is or not, it's reverse, but anyway, if you tighten that down, see now that's in solid, and I've tested that before when I did it, and now the brake clicks on when I want it to, and it's not, there's no delay. So just make sure you adjust this, get it just where it's touching this, not pulling on it or anything, because your brake will show all the time. That way when you touch your brakes, it works the way it's supposed to, and tighten up this with a number 6. So guys, as I mentioned before, you know, I've got a 2024 Tenere 700. Anybody with this bike knows the brakes are, the Brembo brakes are good, but they're a little soft and squishy with a lot of play to actually get any braking power. I installed the Camel brake fix. This is horizontal, you can see. That's all it takes to get brakes now. I just took it on a drive, and it's a big difference. I really love it. I mean, I really love it. So they also recommend for you to bleed your brakes when you do this as well. I wanted to kind of leave it the way it was to see apples to apples compared to the factory brakes, you know, what the difference was. Obviously I can go bleed the brakes and make it better. So I'm probably going to do that at my next service interval, but for now it's certainly got more stopping power, and it's more manageable and usable at the foot, you know, kind of a deal. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'll do another video and talk about all the other upgrades I've made on this bike, but as of this point, the Camel brake fix definitely works, and I got the one with the little folding tip on there too, and I really like it. So hope you guys found the install video helpful. I'll put a link below to the install video from Camel themselves, and you know, please comment if you have any questions, and thank you for watching Adventure South.